Welcome to Be a Light with Muxiang podcast. I'm your host, Muxiang. Over the years, through many platforms, organizations, I have met many inspirational individuals. A year and a half probably ago, I met Sherer Murray, who has delivered a very powerful speech on stage. And also she was willing to help me with a talk. She has been a powerful speaker, and also she has written a powerful book. Today, I have invited Sherer Murray to share her story, the power of letting go, and how to love ourselves. So let's welcome Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hello, it's so nice to be here with you today, Muxiang. I'm thrilled that you invited me to be on your fabulous podcast.
Thank you so much. Your messages that you're going to share, I know, can make huge impact on so many people. I am so excited to start our conversation. So let's just go ahead, share a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I am actually by trade, I am a communications professional working in marketing and communications for all of my career. And I'm also a writer at heart. So I've done many, many things over the course of my career, working for a lot of big organizations. And several years ago, I decided, as you mentioned, to step out and give a TED talk, a TEDx talk. And my TEDx talk, which is called The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go, has since been viewed by almost 6 million people and counting every day. And so in response to that great message going out to so many people, I wrote a book that is really builds on the TEDx talk, which I open with a story about relationships after hearing from people all over the world who called me looking for advice and inspiration about how to let go after seeing that talk. And so my book called Big Wild Love, The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go is really about how to use letting go as a tool to have the things that you want most in your life. So I really spend a lot of time helping people to understand that message, talking through that message, speaking, and I continue as a writer to do consulting and freelance work for corporate clients. And I have another book, which is a novel in progress, hopefully to be published, timing TBD. So I'm thrilled to be here with you to talk about the message of letting go because it's such an important practice. It's an idea and a practice, and it's something that we all really do every single day, but very subconsciously. So the bulk of my work to date is really about around this subject is really about how do we get very conscious and intentional about doing that. So that's kind of a long and windy description of who I am and perhaps why I'm here.
That's amazing. So impressive, such impressive background. So how many books have you written? Because I know the Big Wild Love is such a powerful book.
Well, as any good writer will tell you, Mushang, we have a couple of books in our drawer. Um, I am no exception. I've written probably so far 3 books, 2 of which are published, Big Wild Love, and a book that I wrote many years ago, many, many years ago called Diary of a Writer in Midlife Crisis that I created for a writers conference that I was speaking to. And my new book is a novel, and it's really at a high level about, I mean, I think everything is about letting go, but it's really, I think about fiction and novels as telling the lie that tells the truth. So it's really, how in practice we apply the principles of letting go to be able to have life and love and rise over problems and obstacles and really use that as a guiding tool for our lives. So that's what the next one very high level, very broadly, since we're still in the earlier stages of sort of getting it through the process to be published. More to come on that, so stay tuned. But yeah, so that's where I am with books. But I write every day. I write essays, I write for clients. I mean, writing is really a huge part of who I am and what I love to do.
Yeah, I can tell your passion in writing, and I am very grateful for your guidance in my
Oh, it's my pleasure.
hopefully future TEDx talk.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So you talked about letting go theory or letting go methods, how to help people get out of the rut. I believe many people have been there, not just love or relationship or job, and in many type of situations. Would you like to share a little bit more? And because I know you shared that on stage, would you like to share with our audience if they haven't gotten to watch that video, and what's all about letting go?
Sure. Well, yes. I mean, I give people in my talk some things to really, I think about when it comes to the things that they may be holding on to in their own lives that might be standing between them and the things that they want most in life. So there are a couple of ideas in that talk, like for example, letting go of, taking things personally. We're talking about, how we have to let go of things like, waiting to do the things that we really love and that we really want to do in life. So I think more, in a more detailed and intentional way, my book kind of picks up on that in the sense of that it talks more broadly, and I talk more broadly about what does it actually mean to let go? Is it quitting? Is it figuring out how to cope? Is it, accepting what is? And what I really believe, if we're going to use letting go as a tool, is that it's really about true detachment. So, really detaching from a situation or something that's just not serving us. And so, in my talk, for example, I talk about letting go of a long-term relationship and how really being able to truly let go of it and detach from it meant letting it go with love and gratitude for what it did bring to me and moving through a process that allowed me to leave it in the past and not stand between me and what I wanted most, which was a relationship that really met me where I was, where the one that I let go of did not. So in my book, I give people a very intuitive process for using letting go as a tool. And boy, I use it all the time actually for issues big and small around relationships and around work and around mindset, friendship, health, like all of the things that we encounter in life, even, getting through COVID or getting through moments in the world where we may be struggling with what is. It's really learning how to not just live with sort of the thing that we're struggling with, but how to not let it impact the quality of our life or the things that we want to do. And so there is a 6-step process in my book, which starts with something I call Big Wild Love, which is the one thing that everybody I spoke to who reached out to me after, they all had in common, and that was a lack of self-love. And so Big Wild Love is really a brand of self-love. It's what we need to cultivate in order to be able to successfully let go. And at a very high level, that's really a belief that we deserve the things that we want, that they're possible for us, and that we have everything that we need inside of us to be able to move forward even as we let go of things, and that's hard and painful, knowing that we'll be okay because we have us. And
Yes.
that's really my philosophy that
Yeah.
I promote in the book and in my talks around letting go.
Yeah. That's very powerful. And I would love you to elaborate a little bit more about your background story. What brought you to deliver this speech and also written this book?
Yes. Well, I think I think you can appreciate this as a speaker yourself,
Yeah,
um, that sometimes we're surprised by the things that inspire us to get on that stage and talk about things. So,
yeah.
um, in my talk, I talk about a long-term relationship that was very hard for me to let go of. At the time that I applied to give the TEDx talk, well, first, I was just addicted to TED Talks. I loved them so much. Back at the time, it was like, to me, I thought, how incredible that I could watch all of these brilliant, amazing people from all over the world share these incredibly innovative and resonant ideas, human ideas, in so many creative ways. And I would just sit and watch one right after the other. And as a professional communicator myself, I thought, gosh, I would really love to give a TED talk, a TEDx talk. But I wasn't quite sure of what the topic would be. And then someone that I loved died. And I really thought about what that meant. I was very upset about it. And I really thought about, that loss, which hit me very hard, reminded me that we don't have all the time in the world to spend on things that are not serving us.
Yeah.
So I cultivated this idea and this platform around this idea that, we just don't have time to hold on to the taking things personally, to the not being ourselves, to the waiting until we do the things that we really love, and so much more. And so I wrote the talk and applied for the stage, and they threw me up there and I did it. And so, my story really started with a story about relationship with a wonderful man that I loved and I spent 12 years with, who just didn't want what I did, which was marriage. So, and listen, there's a lot of ways to be happy. It's not the only way, but it's what I wanted,
Yes.
and how I found the courage to actually finally let go of that relationship to go on and find what I really wanted, which was love and marriage and commitment, which I did. Um, and then talk about sort of the process that I went through in order to be able to move from point A to point B. The TED Talk was really not supposed to be about love. That was just an opening story.
Mhm.
As a speaker, we're always looking for great ways to connect with our audience, and talking about love is so universal. But
Mhm.
what happened by opening that story with love is that I heard from so many people around the idea of love and relationship that informed my next step in writing Big Wild Love, which
Mhm.
again is not about finding love with someone else.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it is. Ultimately, it is tips and tools for being able to cultivate the big wild love so you can let go of what might be stopping you from finding that love,
Yeah.
maybe choosing better or engaging in relationship in a different way. But really, the talk and the book are really holistically meant to be about detaching from the things we don't want so that we have space for the things that we do.
Yeah, I still remember the book you talked about step by step, day by day, what they do, what activities. I thought this is very interesting. That's almost like a retreat, and people just follow your book to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
that's
It's hard to let go. No
mm,
one teaches us how to do this. And
yes,
so what I really wanted to do was not just tell people my story, and I interview other women. So there's
yeah.
other women's stories of letting go in there. I'm a journalist by trade, so I believe in sharing the science and the data and interviewing other people, all of which I do. But I also wanted to give people tools that they could actually use to do the work, and not just say, hey, do this. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, here's tools to help you actually do it. And
Yeah.
I love that you say it's like a retreat, because there are a couple, places in the book where I literally give people, here's a 2-day letting go retreat for you to
Yes.
be productive around whatever's keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
And I really hope people use it that way. I do know people have I've gotten feedback that they do and that it's really helped them. And that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be very helpful because the idea of letting go seems like so universal. Everyone knows, okay, I can't have my past or the trauma dictates my future. However, it's so hard to do it. And now
It
your
is.
book provides this step-by-step method, guide people. Sometimes when you are stuck in a rut, you can't differentiate the direction. The only
Mhm.
thing we can do is take some actions one
That's
step at
right.
a time. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And listen, we are, and letting go is not a one or done. I mean, we are doing it all the time. Like listen, there's plenty of things that I need to let go of, but I will say there in those moments, I very often go back to my own process. In fact, I was walking with my husband. Oh my gosh, it has to be. I mean, we walk all the time, but I remember this one particular time where we were walking and I was ranting about a friend that was just spinning and talking again about the same relationship problem. And I was getting so frustrated because I couldn't help. And it was just while I was listening to her, I was also getting ready to make some very big moves in my life. And I just, on our walks, I was just talking about how frustrated I was with her. And finally, my husband looked at me and he said, you need to get in your own process because this is a lot. And you know what I learned by getting in my own process was that I was so focused on her so that I didn't have to look at myself and the big scary moves that I was getting ready to make.
Mhm.
So there's always a reason why we keep ourselves stuck. And we are letting go every single day. And so the process, at least for me and the people that I've heard from, is really like I know people who keep it on their bedside because it is really something that we can reach for time and again. Because letting go is something we have to grapple with throughout our lives, especially as we have new experiences or we get older or we have new fears and new limiting beliefs that we need to climb over to get to the things that we want, that we need to let go of to be able to push ahead. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I use my own book all the time.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a very effective way to help people get out from the old system and form a new system. And there's one huge message, as you said, is learning how to love yourself. Self-love is the huge part of it. That's the number one thing. No matter what we need to achieve, if we can't focus on ourselves to solve the current issues we're having now, it's hard to move forward. And
Right. That's right. Because, it's like I always say it like this, Muxiang, I always say, if we are standing at the edge of a cliff, because letting go is hard
yeah,
and it oftentimes brings loss,
yeah,
even if it's good for us, we're
yeah,
letting go of a person or an idea or a job or an experience. And that may be painful, which is why we're having trouble letting go.
yeah,
But if we're standing on the side of that cliff and we want to let go and jump and we don't see a net at the bottom of the cliff, we're not going to jump because we're just not going to do it. There's no net. Why would we jump? That would be crazy. But if we saw the net, we'd jump every time. And the idea is that we are our own nets.
mhm,
We need to know that when we're at the edge of that cliff, if we jump, we will be okay
yeah,
because we have us
yeah,
and we know what we are worth and we know that the things we want are possible for us and we know that we can get through it because we are resilient and we have all of the love and understanding for ourselves that will keep us moving forward towards the things. And yeah, listen, when I let go of that relationship, it was 12 years. I cried plenty. I ate a lot of pizza. Like I spent a lot of time like snotty on the sofa. I mean, it was painful and it was hard, but I learned that I could survive it and move on and find what I wanted and not to settle for what I didn't want because of any limiting beliefs I held about myself.
Yeah.
And that's really what the cultivation of big wild love is. It's being able to do that work on yourself so that when you bring yourself to a relationship, to a job, to a friendship, to a mindset, to an experience in your life, you know what you're worth. You know
Mhm.
what you want from that relationship, and
Yes.
you're not going to stick around for that relationship or experience if it's not meeting you where you are.
Yeah.
And so, your podcast is called Be a Light.
Yes.
Light attracts light.
Yeah.
Like attracts like.
Yeah.
When we love ourselves, we bring self-loving people and experiences back to us. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what's healthy. That's what brings joy. So that's kind of, in a very circular way, sort of the connection between self-love. And, we talk a lot about self-love now. So, and I think Valentine's Day month, February, the month of love. I know we talk about self-love. This is a very intentional kind. So it's, not just necessarily like self-care, exercise and eat well and get a massage and do the things that you're going to make you feel good. It's really deeper. It's going at that limiting stuff that you think and believe about yourself in the world and chipping away at it. Knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay because you have you.
I love that message. When you are talking about jumping off the cliff, if you know yourself is the safety net,
That's
then
right.
you are going to jump. Yeah,
That's
because
right.
you are sure. We can't control the
Yeah.
external net because
No, we can't.
but we can control the net that we built within us. And
That's right.
yeah, having this self-worth. I know you also read my future TEDx
Yes,
talk. It's also about the self-worth. I, I,
absolutely.
that's why your book is so resonating with me. Finding the self-love, discover our inner strength is very important.
I mean, I love your story, Muxiang, and I love your speech because really you illustrate so beautifully in it how all of that resilience came from inside of you. It didn't come from anything outside of you. To the contrary, in spite of all the things, you understood that you had to be your own net. You understood that that was the only way out and forward and back to yourself. So, you illustrating your talk really what big wild love looks like. And again, it's not connected back to love for another person.
Yes.
It's really about putting the ground under your own feet so that you can make choices that will serve you and give you a life that you want. And I loved that about your talk. I think so much of what so many of us talk about now in the 21st century, 2020. I mean, I've been, seeing a lot of this kind of messaging for a while now because, we're really challenged in our modern day world. We have information coming at us from all sides. We're not necessarily sure how to process all of that or where to place ourselves inside of it. We have a lot of wonderful choices, especially as women. But sometimes we can get lost
Mm-hmm.
in making those choices. And it's
Yeah.
not a judgment, it's not any of that. It's just, we are new generations having to deal with new kinds of decisions and issues in technology and relationships and how we engage in them. And I just think having that foundational, sort of grounding in ourselves, in loving ourselves and believing that we deserve the things that we want is so important It's so important. It's a North Star.
Yeah.
It really
Love
helps us
that.
wade through all of
Yeah.
that decision making.
Yeah. I love that. Loving ourselves is our North Star because I know many people feel I'm lost. I don't know what I'm going to do the
Right.
next. Probably
Yeah.
just, yeah, self-love and also find our own worth is a great way to
Yeah,
do
I mean,
that.
not listening, not comparing ourselves to all the images on social media telling us who we need to be or the
Yeah.
messaging that we may be getting from whoever outside of us. It's really about being true to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I feel that very deeply every day with every challenge and every new um, iteration I have to make of myself because, life changes and we change and circumstances change. We get older, we acquire new limiting beliefs, new vulnerabilities, we process information in a different way. We find ourselves making peace with an idea that some things may not be accessible to us anymore. There's loss, there's different kinds of losses and different kinds of mental jumping around and reckoning with and emotions that we have to grapple with as we go through physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, intellectual changes. And having big wild love and letting go as tools to guide us, keeping them fresh, making sure that we pay attention to them as part of our daily lives is really what kind of keeps us being able to move forward through all of that change.
Yeah. Yeah. Having that method in hand, making that as a habit in life
Yes,
whenever we need that extra guidance
yes,
is definitely helpful.
yes.
Yeah. We since we're talking about love, actually yesterday I was in a group chat and talking about love. To some people, love is only about romance love. But actually that, in my opinion, that love is the most fragile love. And even in a relationship, in a marriage, eventually you have to develop it to what kind of love, like family. That type of love is much stronger. And
Hmm.
also, as you earlier you mentioned that sometimes in a relationship or in a job or somewhere, there are always some good and bad. That's make the
That's right.
choice so much harder.
Yes.
So in your book, did you talk? I have forgot. Maybe I forgot.
Yeah.
Did you have the method to help people when they
Going beyond
going
romantic love.
beyond? Yes, yes.
We really focused a lot. I really focused a lot on that, on the romantic side of things. But I will say, the process itself is very easy to apply to
Mhm.
all of the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I agree, we're so hyper focused on romantic love.
Uh-huh.
I mean, romantic love is important and it can be fraught, but I also feel like my marriage is probably the easiest thing in my life. And I don't, I'd love to say that maybe part of that is luck, but
Yeah.
I also
I
think
do
that
agree.
a lot of my experiences and the ideas that I put forth really, got me to a place where I decided that I would be happy without it
Yeah.
because I didn't know if it was going to come to
Mm-hmm.
me. So
Mm-hmm.
I chose very differently based on cultivating my own big wild love. I chose a partner very differently from a place of grounding and security than I did when I was younger and I didn't have those things. And I made choices based on insecurity and fear and scarcity. And so I do think when we cultivate big wild love, we begin to make different choices for ourselves that lead us to, better romantic love. But to your point, they also help us cultivate stronger relationships with
Mhm.
family members and friends and our own choices.
Yeah.
So we don't question ourselves quite as much because we have trust that we're now doing things that are acting on our own best self-interest, and we're doing them with our eyes wide open. We're
Mhm.
not making decisions from a subconscious place because it might feel good or it might be comfortable to us. Maybe I choose to be friends with someone or in a relationship with someone who reminds me of my distant father or overbearing mother or whoever, because that's what I know, that's what I'm used to. Now we're consciously saying, I'm going to choose this person because they treat me well and they honor me and they offer me
Mhm.
intellectual, emotional, physical, whatever companionship and respect and joy. And so it is really broadening the definition of what love is. We can love our jobs, we can love our work. I love to write. I can't imagine not writing. And I feel like sometimes the act of writing is another, I don't want to say another human being because that's kind of crazy cuckoo, but my passion for writing and being creative is a huge part of who I am. My life would not be the same without it.
Yeah.
So we can apply all of this to the various aspects of our life and the
Mhm.
way that we love various aspects of our life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I also think about another question some people may have when we talk about self-love. Do people tend to think it's selfish if you think about yourself first? You're not thinking about the other person, someone, yeah, in that relationship?
That's such a great question. And I love that you asked that question because I think yes, and I think that is especially a struggle for we as women.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, it is not selfish to put ourselves first. I mean, I think we all know when we're being selfish. Like we know certain things, right, Muxiang? We know
Yeah.
when we're being selfish.
Yeah.
We know when, like, I don't know, if there's, somebody who's elderly standing, on the bus and we can give them our seat because
Yeah.
we're perfectly fine. That's selfish.
Yes. Uh-huh.
We know in a relationship or a friendship when we're doing certain things, we're being selfish. We know this.
Yeah. Hmm.
It is not selfish to advocate for ourselves. It is not selfish to say, with love and consideration for another person, if there's another person involved in our letting go journey or a job and, obligations. It's not like we should negate our obligations or negate our humanity and our civility. So when we're letting go, if that's leaving a relationship or addressing an issue inside of it, because you don't necessarily have to leave a relationship holistically. Sometimes there's just an issue inside of it that needs to
Yeah.
be dealt with, or we're leaving and letting go of a job or an idea or whatever it is. As long as we do that with consideration for the other person, with respect, with honor. And I do think with love in our hearts, because that really is for us.
Hmm.
If I let go of my 12-year relationship in anger, that just hurts me.
Yeah.
That just keeps me stuck. So I have to find a way to be able to wish that relationship and that other person love and luck and a happy life. That's true detachment.
Hmm.
That's the true detachment I'm talking about. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It is literally, it took me a year from the decision point to the actual physical leaving. But it is not selfish. to want what we want, and with honor, respect, humanity, and civility to pursue it.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes letting go is a stronger form of love.
Listen, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I had stayed, I wouldn't be serving that other person by
Yeah.
staying in a situation that where I was very unhappy. How am
Mm-hmm.
I doing that other person any favors?
Yeah.
And so you're right. You're right. It is really an act that serves us, and oftentimes, if there are other people involved, serves them as well, even if they may not realize it right away.
Yeah. And also by loving ourselves, and as you earlier mentioned, ground us. And we
Mhm.
also have principles that have bottom lines and setting reasonable expectations. And
Yes.
that actually make the relationship or in whatever situation actually more healthy. Do you agree with
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I took improv classes for a year when I was in Chicago, and one of the things that they tell us is that we should always play to the highest levels of our intelligence. And that applies, that applies. Um, so yes, and part of that is releasing the expectations, releasing the expectations.
Mm,
Because to your point, we have no control over other people.
yeah.
We only can control ourselves and how we respond
Mm-hmm.
and what we can live with. Expecting someone to give us something they are not equipped to give us is, and staying and being angry about it and struggling with it and trying to fix it is really our problem,
Yeah.
not theirs.
Yeah. I agree.
You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
my the person that I let go of who didn't want to get married, he wasn't wrong for not wanting to get married. That's not what he wanted. He was not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It was me. I stayed knowing he didn't want what I wanted.
Yeah.
That wasn't his problem. That was mine.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
yes,
That's our choice
that's right.
to change the status quo that we don't like. Yeah, we
And
definitely, yeah,
and that's the word, Muxiang, right? Is choice.
choice. Yes.
We have choices.
Yeah. We
We
have
do have choices. We may not always like them. I didn't love my choices. My choices were to either stay in a relationship that would never give me what I wanted, or to leave and be utterly heartbroken for however long I didn't even know, or go into the unknown of life without this person after 12 years. That was my choice. My other choice was just to do nothing. And I made a decision based on those three choices, based on my own level of self-love, of big wild love, what I knew I could live with and I deserved. But that takes time, and it takes intentional work. It takes an awareness. It takes going into your subconscious and trying to understand what motivates you to let go or hold on, and why, and to actively take the steps you need to take to move forward, even if they're uncomfortable. So, yeah.
now I want to challenge you with the real scenario. It's a family member. So it's not just a romantic relationship or something. And a mother and daughter, and the mother loves the daughter unconditionally, as you can imagine, because she was divorced, raised her alone, but she poured too much love on her. That's what from my perspective. And now ended up, her daughter doesn't respect her, doesn't really want to talk to her even, now also get herself in trouble, making loans that she can't pay off. In that
Mm.
situation, how you can give, what advice you can give to the mother of letting go? I know it's hard. This is,
Well, that's hard. Listen, that's hard. I mean, there are some things we never let go of.
yeah,
that mother will never let go of wanting to have her daughter in her life and seeing her daughter be a certain way.
Yeah.
She will never let go of that.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things we just don't let go of. We don't let go of when people die and we miss them.
Yes.
We don't let go of that. But we can find a way to go on with our lives and exist while that is happening. And that's really the goal, is that the mother cannot control what the adult daughter does.
Yeah.
So the mother needs to really choose what role she's going to play in the daughter's life and what role she's going to play in her own life. And if I were her, I would seek the help of a therapist to guide her, to have a place for her to go where she could talk
Mm-hmm.
and get professional support.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were her, I would surround herself with a support system that serves her and challenges her and helps her to
Yeah.
make peace
Mm-hmm.
as best as she can with
Yeah.
what is.
Yeah.
There are so many situations, Muxiang, in our lives. I mean, we've been through, my husband, I've watched him struggle with some family things. We all have,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's hard to let go, but it's the work.
Yeah.
It's the work. And, life is imperfect. There's always work to be done. There's always work on ourselves to be done. There's always things that we bring into our lives to challenge us because we're ready for them,
Mm-hmm.
because they take us to the next best place.
Yeah.
And so, that's a hard situation, probably very common,
Yeah.
very common.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I think it goes back to that cultivation of self-love, of big wild
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Find your way to that grounding place.
Yeah.
Get yourself steady and strong.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts me to see my family member who is so struggling, trying her best in her last many years, and all she wanted is at least have the family, but
Mhm.
no matter how much she tried, sometimes as luck, as you mentioned, marriage, there's a luck in it. And sometimes even children, there's luck placed in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think right now, probably self-love is the number one step she needs to take
That's right. So what
on
does she
herself.
need to cultivate that?
Yes.
That's where all those other things come in.
Yes.
Maybe a support group where there's other women like her who are having the same struggle, where
Yeah.
she can go and talk and get release and ideas and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Um, it's so different for each and every one of us. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's addressing the limiting beliefs in her, where maybe she feels, oh, I deserve to be punished because I was a bad parent, or I
Uh-huh.
made mistakes,
Uh-huh.
or this is just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're all so very different, but addressing those things and getting ourselves to a strong place allows us to take the hits in a very different way.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know it's a challenging question. I was wondering whether it fits into this topic, but I think it fits perfectly because the big wild love is all about loving yourself and dealing with all this type of most challenging situations like that.
It's
And
it's giving you the courage and the confidence that
yes,
you need to take the risks
yeah,
associated with letting go. because letting go is about loss. And the
Yes.
other thing I will say about your family member is, as long as she's struggling in that experience, she's connected to her daughter.
Yes.
And there may be a belief that if she allows herself to find a way to accept and navigate, that she's cutting herself off from it, that she's no longer got her daughter in her life. But that's not true.
Yeah, that's impossible. As you said, it's impossible for a mother letting totally go with the daughter. The only thing is how to letting go of some of the things that she can control.
That's right.
Yeah, such as the current, maybe some of the issues that her daughter is facing. She probably needs to learn to let her daughter to deal with the
That's
things.
right.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part about parenting, is just you gotta let them go.
Yeah. Let them go, let them deal with it.
Doing that, she's letting also a part of herself go.
And
I think there are those issues of identity where we need to let go, because we're always evolving into something and someone new. And sometimes it's hard to let go of those pieces of who we were or who we thought we were. And a lot of times that's because we don't have anything to go to. And I talk about that in my book. That's part of the process of letting go. It's not just feeling the pain of loss, but really doing the work of deciding who we want to be next and how do we go forward. What are the things we can do to be able to leave those pieces of ourselves behind when it's appropriate to do so, and move on to the next part of who we are as we age and evolve and go through life experiences. That's all part of the process of letting go. And I talk about all of it in the book.
Yeah. Well, I hope our audience have the opportunity to watch our episode and also will grab your book, because I know I will share your website at the bottom of our episode. So when we are towards our end of our conversation, are there any messages you would like to leave behind with our audience?
I mean, I would just say that if there's anything that anybody in your audience is holding on to that is not making them happy or serving them, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to hold on to it. There is power. You do have power. And I encourage you to exercise that power and examine, go inward, look to see where there are holes, where you haven't yet cultivated the big wild love, and how you can do that and then use it to let go so that you can have the things that you want. Because, hey, we're not here forever. So we got to get on with it, Muxiang. You know what I mean? That's why I started this whole thing. We got to just get on with it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's powerful. Just believe we have the power to choose. We have the power to make the decisions towards the direction that we want to go to.
Yeah. To be our own lights.
To be our own lights. Yes, yes. Be a light to ourselves first.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah,
that's
for others. Yes.
Yep. I love it.
Thank you so much, Jill. This is wonderful. I really enjoyed our conversation. And the audience, if you are here, please check out Jill's website and connect with her if you need any support. And if you feel nobody is loving you, please be sure you love yourself first. That's the very first step. So thank you so much for your time to watch us. And thank you, Jill.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure to be on Muxiang, and I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Getting on that stage.
Thank you so much, Jill. Also, our audience, if you like this episode, please share with someone you love. Okay. Thank you, audience, and thank you, Jill.
Thank you.